My primary area of study is American foreign policy and regionally Eastern Europe or Central Europe. And I noticed that there were these security companies popping up in all sorts of strange places in the Balkans. I talked to a colleague who worked on Latin America, and lo and behold, in places like Colombia, they were there too. I started wondering, what are these private security companies doing? And I started realizing that they were, in a sense, executing American foreign policy. But I looked at security contractors and realized that this is just only a piece of the puzzle. That actually, in the areas of diplomacy, in the areas of development, as well as in the areas of defense, the government was increasingly turning to the private sector to do its business. When I talk about the privatization of power, I mean it in two ways. One, I mean the government is outsourcing all these functions it used to take care of itself and having either private companies or NGOs execute the government's business. That's one aspect of the privatization of American power. But the second aspect of the privatization of American power is that individuals can now, in a sense, make their own foreign policy if they don't like what the government is doing. I think there are at least three negative, unintended consequences of unenlightened outsourcing. That is, outsourcing on the fly without thinking about the implications. The first would be enormous accountability problems, where it's impossible to track the money that the government is spending and how it's spent. And of course, if there are accountability problems, that leads to a second problem, namely that we are in a crisis of fiscal irresponsibility. And the third unintended consequence, negative consequence of this unenlightened outsourcing is a lost sense of government purpose. We elected congressmen, in a sense, to serve voters' interests. But we can't vote out subcontractors. Once it's gone down that chain, in a sense, the business of government is beyond public view. And I'd like to bring it back into public view so we can decide which things we want and which we don't.